Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Town Council meeting, July 17th, 2023. If you will please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to public comment.
Mayor, I'd like to
Oh, so sorry. Yeah.
to move the Distinguished Officer Awards up to before public comment. There are some officers in the room that received Distinguished Service Awards from our Chief Collette, and they are here tonight. And if you gentlemen want to come forward.
Thank you.
We have a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Well, thank you for letting me have a moment of your time, and I apologize for interrupting the public comment, but I'll make this as fast as I can. Kind of in my new role as acting chief, I want to take an opportunity to share positive stories about our officers, and didn't take very long for some good things to happen. So here we have Officer Kaufman, Officer Cruz, and Officer Green, and they are going to be receiving the Distinguished Service Award for their actions in a medical call. I'll read you the proclamation. On June 17th at 1:38 p.m., you were assigned to your routine patrol duties when a 911 call was received from 412 Cromwell Avenue, Mazzucato Bakery and Pastry Shop, for the report of unresponsive male who was not breathing. Within 2 minutes of being dispatched, you and fellow patrol members arrived at the scene, where you found the male patient unconscious and unresponsive. You and your fellow officers immediately assessed the patient, confirmed he was not breathing, and initiated life-saving measures. You initiated rescue breathing protocols and simultaneously placed the AED patches on the patient's body. The AED analyzed the patient, did not recommend a shock cycle. You and your partners began CPR providing life-saving compressions and oxygen to the patient before the arrival of emergency medical ambulance services. As a result of your actions, the patient's heart restarted and began beating independently. The patient was later transported to Hartford Hospital, where it was learned that he had survived this medical emergency. I was informed that the patient's heart was functioning and he was again breathing on his own. Before the patient's collapse, he told the store clerk that he was buying goods to share with his family on Father's Day. Had you not intervened as quickly as you had and not provided immediate life-saving measures, the patient would likely not have survived. Your actions saved this patient's life, and you are to be commended. I am proud to recognize you for your dedication, professionalism, and devotion, and your actions reflect favorably upon yourself, law enforcement, and Rock Hill Police Department. And in recognition for that, I'm pleased to award you the Distinguished Service Award. So, I'll give you your proclamation. Oh, if you want to get a picture of it. Sorry. We're not good at that.
Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Awesome.
I was well hidden. Yeah, I think I was. Thank you, guys.
There's another one. There's one more. This is Officer Alex Sachecki. Officer Alex Sachecki was on his way home back in the month of June, driving home to his residence when he observed a motor vehicle accident on I-84 out near where he resides, going fast in the slow speed lane, was unable to stop for the motor vehicle accident, but proceeded past the accident scene where he stopped and went back to render assistance for this rolled over motor vehicle in a high speed lane. During that time, there was 2 occupants, one occupant and another gentleman who was trying to help the individual with this car, who were standing in the high-speed lane of traffic and were in peril. Officer Sachecki used his flashlight, using verbal commands, and directed these individuals to come out of the road into safety, putting himself in the roadway at that time. Simultaneous to those instructions, a motor vehicle struck this rolled-over motor vehicle within feet of Officer Sachecki. His actions that day undoubtedly saved the lives of those 2 individuals on the road, and for that I'm issuing you a Distinguished Service Award as well for your actions. Congratulations. just like to thank the council for the opportunity to do this. It's not something we've done kind of in our history, but there are some good stories about our ladies and gentlemen who work for our department, and if I'm able to do it again like this in the future, I'd love to come back and do it. But thank you so much, and thank you for your patience with us as well.
Thank you. Congratulations, everyone. Okay, so we're going to move on to public comment. This portion of the meeting is specifically set aside for comments from the public who are asked to limit their comment to 2 minutes. Any person interested in providing public comment remotely should email publicmeetings@rockyhillct.gov prior to 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting, at which time a link will be provided to attend the meeting, as well as instructions on how to participate. Now, for those of you who have not participated in public comment before, I just want to let you know that the council does not answer any questions. We are just here to listen to what you have to say. If you have a specific question, someone can return a call to you or get back to you, or you can always reach out to any of us. But sometimes folks anticipate this back and forth, and we're just not allowed by the rules to do that. But we are certainly here to listen to you. So let's begin.
Rich Paul, Policio, 8 Washington Street, Rocky Hill. Madam Mayor, members of the council, I'm the chairman this year of the Wethersfield Rock Hill Elks Lodge number 2308 in partnership with the Human Services Department in Rocky Hill. We're sponsoring this year a suicide prevention program on Monday, September 25th, between 7 and 9 p.m. Again, just like the drug awareness program, we'll have experts from throughout the area and throughout the state to serve on this panel. Unfortunately, suicide is getting more and more prevalent among the citizens of the United States, especially, believe it or not, young kids 10 to 13 years old, and veterans. I forget the exact figure, but the veteran suicide per day is very high in this country. So rather than do the drug awareness program this year, I decided to switch to suicide prevention, which really isn't a program of the Elks, but I'm going to take it on. Again, I'm working with State Rep Kerry Wood and other people, and we'll have an expert panel that have real expertise. Melissa Hicks will be with us that night, as I mentioned. She's the director of Rock Hill Human Services, and she'll be serving on the panel. So I formally invite all the members of the council and all the members of the community and outside of Rocky Hill to attend this very important program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm from Cedar Hollow. I actually just wanted to comment because I didn't get a chance to in the last.
Just make sure you give your name and your address.
Sorry. Michelle Skopliak. I actually live at 87 Parish Road, but we do own the condo at 515 Cedar Hollow Drive. So we've owned the condo for about 12 years, since 2009. We've lived through extremely strong storms there. I think Superstorm Sandy was there. And we've never had so much as a drop of water in our basement, and that's when the old Ames Plaza was completely paved, and we've never had a drop of water in our basement. So into our basement, so the only factor that's changed, obviously, is the construction that's going on behind the condos, as far as like the water and the flooding. It's not only water that came into the basement, so there's a bunch of silt in our basement as well. The condo grass behind us is completely undisturbed, so none of the flooding came from our property. It obviously logically came from like an adjacent property. All of the unit owners, obviously including us, our HO6 policies have been declined to cover the loss, as well as the condo master policy has declined the loss as well. So the way it stands right now, my husband and I have been getting estimates. It's going to be about $25,000 to $30,000 to make the condo livable, completely livable, just to get back in there and live and have someone live there. So and that's not even including like embetterments. That's literally just to get it where you have heat, hot water, and lights. So thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa Gilbert, 730 Elm Street. I just want to let the townspeople know that the Connecticut River has flooded. The Great Meadows is underwater. We have 30 acres worth of cropland that is completely a complete loss. There's no chance of any of this surviving. Even if it did, it's contaminated by the water, and it's a 100% complete loss. I do want to thank Chief Garahy and the Rocky Hill Fire Department for coming out, letting us know, offering any assistance. He is to be commended for that. I greatly appreciate it. Moving forward, thank you for the town of Rocky Hill for your support. We're going to try to pull this together as best we can. My family's been farming in this town for many generations, over 200 years. We're going to hold it together and move forward. We've suffered through Irene. We've picked up the pieces and continued on. I appreciate the townspeople's support right now. I thank you for voting for the referendum for the Straska property, because that and 5 acres along 91 is the only cropland that I have left for the 2023 season. So I really, really appreciate the support in the town of Rocky Hill and the surrounding communities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Francis Whalen, co-owner of Hayes Farm, 269 Hayes Road. Also, just want to talk a little bit about the Meadowlands, the farmers that we lost. I want to thank the people of Rocky Hill and surrounding members of our state who all have reached out to various farmers in the area. Thanks to our local government. Thank you, Mayor, Town Manager, Council members, Fire Chief, Town Crew, Park and Rec, who all have reached out to various farmers offering assistance. Thanks to our state and federal level people, our governor, lieutenant governor, senators, State Rep Wood, who also have been monitoring the flood and trying to help the farmers. Just like to give you an idea of some acreage that affects the local farmers in our area, Rock Hill and Weathersfield, from the flooded meadow grounds. Fairweather growers lost 280 acres of land. Winding Brook Turf Farm lost 240 acres. Hayes Farm lost 73 acres. Harris Agricultural lost 68 acres. Anderson Farm lost 50 acres. Gilbert Farm lost 30 acres. Matway Farm lost 24 acres. Total of 765 acres, which was used for human consumables, livestock feed, and sod. So I just wanted to give you some idea of how much land is down there that these local farmers use, and we all are devastated. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Folks, you can just come up one at a time and state your name and your address for the record.
Alan Smith, 112 Old Main Street, and I just want to point out, I think the information that Chief Garrity shared earlier about like the triage response, and also hearing from Melissa in Health and Human Services, I think that's all really helpful, and it's good to hear that that kind of triage response was good night of, but that was like the first 5 hours, and now here we're, I don't know the hours, but we're 2 weeks later, and we're just now hearing about all this. It sounds like, within the first week, Representative Wood got more involved, but it just sounds like a lot of other balls might have been dropped in there. And I want to point out, because everybody seems to be really happy to bring up that this is such a huge storm, it's like unprecedented, it's never happened before, but now we've heard, previous storms never had a drop of water in there. And I'll point out, Planning and Zoning meeting last February, where their permits were approved, residents specifically asked what is going to happen during construction of the Ames property, or Kelson Row, whatever we want to call it. Kenneth Russo, the president of the HOA, asked if there was going to be protection during construction, said Commissioner Hussey also referred back to those public comments. If anybody wants to look, if you're making notes, that's at about the 2 hour and 6 minute mark. And the folks, Tom Daly from SLR, which is a representative from Bellefonte, said almost all drainage infrastructure is put in first. So my question is, had that actually been put in yet? But after that, he followed it up with, the town was very upfront with us about the downstream properties and how they need to be protected. We are fully aware of that and will be engaged during construction to ensure that they are handled appropriately. That's an exact quote from the developer. So as far as I'm concerned, what we do right now, because they need an immediate relief, we can't wait for a lawsuit, can't wait for FEMA, can't wait for that, is no more work on the property, no more building permits until the developer owns up to what they said they would be responsible for, and until our neighbors are made right. Thanks.
Good evening. Derek Kalin, 116 Ridgewood Drive. I chair the town's sustainability task force, and we are planning to come before you all at some point later on, trying to get to be a formal part of the agenda. I just wanted to give a quick update on an issue that is going to be discussed at the town council tonight. So very briefly, Sustainable Rocky Hill was a task force set up by the town council to advise on sustainability actions and to help the town advance its certification. Currently, we're Sustainable CT Bronze. We want to move to Silver. The way that we do that is by taking on a bunch of sustainability actions, including educating the public or action at the town municipal level. For example, a couple of sessions ago, you folks passed the Complete Streets resolution, and that earned the town, I think, about 20 points towards our goals of going silver. Tonight on the agenda, I think there is an option or a talking point around the Affordable Housing Committee. You should know that if you do form an Affordable Housing Committee, that's another 10 points towards the Sustainable CT Silver agenda. So please bear that in mind. I also know that the Commission on Inclusion and Innovation submitted a slate of recommendations about how to promote equity within the town. And among those recommendations is a statement on equity, like recognizing the importance of equity at the town level and stating a plan on how you're going to achieve it. And I understand that Tom Kosker, the chair, will be presenting further on that in August. You should know that if the town council does pass a statement on equity, that's an additional 15 points towards our certification goals. I have a quick handout for you folks to inspect so you know our status as a town in our sustainability goals, and I hope to come forward to you all later on, more formally later on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. John Flaherty, 305 Cedar Hollow Drive. My condo is right behind the Ames building. I am the epicenter. My drain is right there. I'm the first person who called, not 315, just to correct the fire chief, 6 times since I've lived there. Okay? 3 with the old property owners, 3 with the new. Okay? I've been to the building and maintenance people on the town, reported the issues when everybody used to teach their kids how to drive in the parking lot, practice in the snow. So I would drive through there, look at the catch basins. They would be all full. Come to the building and maintenance guys. This one, the property was in plight. Tell the guys, listen, all the catch basins are blocked. If it rains, we're going to have a flood. A week later, it rained. What happened? We had a flood. So the property neglect was the cause of every single flood. There was no sewer system in place right now at that construction zone when it rained. They built the berm that night on July 3rd. Well, guess what? It broke on July 4th. I have a video I can show you. The fire chief, I had to call the fire chief again. The water started building up in the back again. So the catastrophic rain stuff, it doesn't cut it, because last time it rained, it wasn't as catastrophic. The neglect of the property, the sewer system, that's what caused the problem. I've been here for 20 years at Cedar Hollow, okay? And my condo and my neighbors were always affected every time, the 6 times that it flooded. Unfortunately, my neighbors in the 500 building got it the worst this time. Why? The neglect of the property. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
And thank you, Carrie Wood, for helping out.
thank you.
I'm Suzanne Kinnery. I live at 508 Cedar Hollow Drive. Pardon me. I don't think unless you've seen it, and Ms. Wood came out, and we're so happy that you did, to know what we're going through. We lost everything. And then we're getting quotes for, like she said, 10, 15, 20,000 out of pocket. I'm a single mom. I have 2 kids with me. I was in a hotel for a week. I had to pay out of pocket. The town came in, did the 2 nights. When I called and said, what do we do now? They said, well, that's what we have for you. And I said, but your insurance should start paying. I had this conversation back and forth. You're correct, they should. They're not. So let's stop having that conversation. They're not going to cover us. Now what do we do? People have to come up with this money. You're talking about loans that we have to then pay back. $200, $300 extra a month. Maybe we can't do that. This is unfair. We were all responsible property owners. We had our homeowners. We did what we were supposed to do. This is horrible, horrible. We can't live. I don't have a home. I've got 1 daughter in Manchester, 1 daughter in Holland, and I'm in another residence. People are living with families. We have to displace our families now to go live with them. This is horrible, horrible. And again, negligence on this person's part. Why would he offer us properties to go stay in if he didn't have some responsibility for what happened? We can talk about down the line. We can talk about a lawsuit. That's so far off my radar right now. I can't live in my home. They can't live in their homes. Someone's got to help us. Someone has to help us. I don't know where it's going to come from, and I'm sorry. It's humiliating to have to ask people. We all work hard. I work hard. I did what I was supposed to do again. Now I have an unmarketable condominium, right? I have to disclose flood information. I lost the whole basement I had that was upgraded. It's a mess. Never mind all the personal property. Furnace, air conditioner, all big ticket item. I didn't just wake up one day and, my furnace is gone. All of it at one time. All of it at one time to get back in there, just to get bare minimums. Our house is, the smell, fly, you have no idea. We don't even know what came from that mud. We have no idea what was in that. And it's slow. Why? Because there's no insurance. So Blue Sky is giving what they can give because it's minimum. We should all have a team on each condo. I've seen no progress in my house for days, because they get held up. Someone else is worse. There's not enough people. Again, if our homeowners was kicking in, we probably wouldn't have this issue at all, but they're not. They're not. Someone has to, there has to be resources somewhere. It's an affluent town. There has to be resources somewhere to help us. We pay taxes here too. You come and see it. I don't think she realized how bad it was till she came out, and it's devastating, devastating. All of our stuff thrown on the lawn, it's humiliating. I'm sorry if I'm taking too much time, but we're pleading for help. We need help. Someone has to do something. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Romano, 511 Cedar Hollow. With all this devastation, nobody has once said.
Mr. Romano, can you just talk into the microphone
sorry.
because you're not going to get on the record?
No one's ever talked about the fact we all could have died there. The water came in. If I was downstairs in my basement, I would have been slammed up against the front wall. It tore down doors, tore them in half. Took my washing machine and just bounced it against the wall. Couldn't have survived down here.
Thank you. Anyone else like to be heard?
Beverly Fortune, 506 Cedar Hollow. Thank God my unit wasn't as bad as John. 8 feet of water they got. Mine was so bad, I was doing laundry. Put a load in the dryer, went up to the living room. 5-6 minutes later, the fire department's at my door. I said, what are you here for? Oh, there's a flood in your basement. I said, I was just down there. Come on, I'll show you. Sure enough, there's all this water. Now, what I want to tell you is through family, we have owned this unit for over 40 years. Never once has that basement had water, unless a hot water heater or maybe somebody's, washing machine. But as responsible adults, we would never have put items that were very dear to our heart, that were very expensive, that cost us a lifetime to purchase. Would we have left it down there? Never would we have done that. If we were ever thought we'd have any water in that basement, we would have not put photos of our family. My son had 3 drum sets down there that are worth so much money that talk about devastation, and he's in a band, and what is he to do now? Talk about a job. Let me tell you, we are devastated. So what I want you to know, because John is usually a very good speaker, he is so distraught right now because of what happened. Because had, in fact, he been in the basement, or had I been doing laundry and I was in his unit, I would have probably been killed. That's how ferocious this water came in. And it was the construction. It was from the construction, because then Logan Fortune walked the property and found all the construction debris down on Cedar Hollow property. And all the storm basins were all full of the construction debris. So I don't want to hear about water. Fire Chief Garrahy, thank him so much. He said to you here tonight, that mud that was left over, that stinks so bad that we've been breathing, that's contaminated with what? We don't even know yet. That turned to lead. That's how devastating those basements were. And I am telling you right now, we just need you to really tonight at your meeting, we really need you to be considerate of us, because we have always paid taxes. We live there. We're members of the community, and we just want you to help in any way you can. Talk about raising money, whatever you can do to help us. But I would like to see the insurance commissioner. I would like to see things changed as far as flood zone, because if it was a flood zone, we would have had flood insurance, and we would not have had those items in the basement or paid money to have basements finished and furniture and whatever else we had down there. So please understand, we're responsible people. We're good to the community. We have been for years. Now, someone needs to help us out. And I held Fonte responsible. He's the property owner, and talk about the construction. Ken Russo raised a question apparently a year ago about how are you going to protect Cedar Hollow? That's just like fun. Everybody, it's like, that's a laugh. I'm sitting here laughing at that, because now the devastation came, and we're done. We are done, I'm telling you. I've been sick since it happened. We were displaced. My son and I were displaced for a good week, and only, recently came back in. We got sore throats. We're just not feeling well. It's been awful. And I also want to say, post-traumatic stress, anyone? This has been devastating. So please consider us.
Thank you. Anyone else before? No? Okay, so we're going to close public comment. Thank you all. We're going to move on to appointments and resignations. Deputy Mayor?
We have none.
Councilor Duff?
No appointments and resignations to announce.
Okay. We will move on to approval of the minutes, the Town Council special meeting of June 20th, 2023.
Madam Mayor, make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second?
Any discussion?
Just one question. Was it actually a special meeting? I know we rescheduled it to get it off.
I was wondering what was the special meeting, to be honest with you, but
I think it's a regular meeting, right?
was it a special meeting, Ray?
I believe when you
Yeah, 'cause-
reschedule.
yeah, we used to-
something.
yeah.
Oh, you have to technically need to call it a special meeting.
Okay.
It was moved a day.
Yeah. Kind of like the public safety, what now became special.
Because it was originally scheduled for the 19th, then for Juneteenth, we voted.
I remember that, yeah.
Technically, it's a special meeting.
Okay.
Didn't feel special.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to subcommittee reports, finance.
Well, we had a special meeting because we moved our date. We met on July 6th at 6 p.m. We have 3 items on this evening's consent agenda. The first is an authorization to revise fees for the building department. Our fees went up $1, so that was the adjustment. It did pass unanimously. The second item is an award of bid for environmental assessment at 3555 Evans Road. That also passed unanimously. And the third item on the agenda is the award of bid for remediation of 374 New Britain Avenue, which is Traska Farm. Again, passed unanimously. We did review our revenues and expenses, and those were all in line. We did receive our final payment for the Mashantucket Pequot grant. We received a memo that a planning memo on our audit, and our auditors will be starting within the next month or so on our annual audit. We reviewed the special revenue accounts. We did note there that the town did fund some hotel rooms, as we heard this evening, not just there, but also for the Century Hills concierge property. Our next meeting is August 10th.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Sharmat moved his agenda. Okay. Government operations?
Yes, Government Operations also had a special meeting. We rescheduled from July 3rd due to the holiday, and it was just better for staff and everybody. So we had it tonight. Just give you some updates on items regards to town buildings. Firehouse 3 HVAC project. The rooftop unit is now scheduled for delivery at the end of the month, and the installation date is to be determined probably late in the summer once things cool a bit. The amphitheater stage LED lighting retrofit was supposed to be worked on July 5th and 6th, but had to be postponed to a later date. Library South Addition roof repair and replacement due to roofing nails popping up through surface tile in several areas. A contractor has been chosen. Date of work is to be determined, but again, probably when it cools down, late summer, early fall is probably the targeted date. And the Channel 14 building outside studio door replacement cinder block seal and paint due to issues over the winter. All that work is to be done a little bit later this summer. A few updates on school buildings. Stevens HVAC Phase 1. Equipment is on site. Indoor units have been installed. Condenser pads have been poured, and condensers are set in place. Piping and unit wiring is ongoing. The hope is that will be done prior to the start of school. The Griswold Middle School roof, the project is on schedule. It's partially done, and they'll continue working on that. It should be done at schedule before class starts. And the Griswold Middle School science classroom, also that project is on schedule. Demolition is complete. New ceiling grid is installed. Plumbing, electrical, rough-in completed. Patching and painting are ongoing. New cabinets and countertops are on site. Prep for new flooring installation is complete with floor install for July 17th. I think it was today, so maybe they did it today. A few other projects within town. Straska Farm, there's 2 projects. The remediation for the site of the barn construction and community gardens. As Councilor Greenspan mentioned, they've approved the Finance Committee approved a contractor to start and will be part of the consent agenda. And they're also going to prepare specs for the barn construction bidding procedure to start. So they'll be starting that process soon. The Evans Road Brownfield Assessment Grant, the assessment of contamination, the Finance Committee approved a contractor, again, as Councilor Greenspan mentioned, for Phase 1 and the preparation of Phase 2. And
Elmridge Park upgrades, and this is specifically regarding the pickleball courts. The towns received the first set of preliminary drawings last week to trying to get 6 courts in the area. This is out by the left field of the softball field and near the skate park, that vicinity. Waiting on some preliminary cost estimates, which they hope the Parks and Rec hopes to get any day now. The goal is to go out to bid this fall, construct courts this fall, so they will be ready to use in the spring. And lastly, speaking of special meetings, as we did for July, we're going to do similarly reschedule August and September's meetings to coincide with the one town council meeting of each of those months instead of having it separately on the first of the month. So, and that's the end of the report.
Okay. Moving on to public safety.
Madam Mayor, may I just
Yeah.
interrupt? I think we should have there is a request to amend the agenda to add discussion, possible action for the modification of a human resource generalist position.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to modify the agenda?
Would that be modified to?
We can put it under new business C, perhaps.
Under where?
New business C.
New business C. And what is the?
So we want to modify the human resources
Generalist, specialist position.
specialist position.
Our generalist position. Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda for new business item C to discuss possible action, for discussion and/or possible action, the human resources specialist position.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now going on to public safety.
Public safety, I have to jump back to the June 26th, and then we also had tonight's special meeting, so there were 2. The June 26th, we were able to have the officer presentation tonight, so we did have that back on June 26th. I can tell you that Fire Department had reported 45 incidences, training hours of 251, 0 firefighter injuries. The incidences responded to 45, ended up bumping the year-to-date total to 269. 63 members, 57 are active, 1 resignation, 1 military. New website release is coming. 6 drone events. Our billings to the I-91 corridor for our fire department have probably since this meeting exceeded, but at that time was $97,000 with a balance of $15,000 remaining to be paid to us from the state. We talked about the Memorial Day Parade, which all departments participated in and was greatly appreciated. Our police department, our ambulance had a total of 405 calls for the month of May. Active writing members, 39. Associate members, non-writing, 9. Probationary members in training, 15. 2 on medical leave and 2 on school leave. Total members, 69 reported. I should get to their page in a minute, their numbers page. Yay. I will skip that for now, since I'm unable to locate it.
If you find it after, we'll just circle back to you.
Circle back on it.
We'll give you a minute, Ed.
All right. Oh, I have it. I'm sorry. Pulled it out because we did, Councilor O'Sullivan did request a special set of reports, and the police department did pull together their training. Councilor O'Sullivan was particularly concerned about de-escalation and those types of issues, and I think we were provided a rather thorough report on the extensive training that police officers in town get, de-escalation training to go along with their other tactical activities. For the month of May, 3,284 calls for service, criminal arrests 22, motor vehicle accidents 35, 1 DUI, infractions issued 47, warnings issued 178, total tickets issued in town 14, training hours were 419. They participated in Tippecanoe with Special Olympics. They participated in the Memorial Day Parade. They participated in several other community events for kids, a police tour, Cadet Academy. There was a firearm discharge at the Hampton Inn, no danger to the public. We will probably get a resolution of that situation at the next public safety meeting, which will be August 21st. Before I move on from public safety, though, I will tell you that tonight we had a special meeting. The original meeting was canceled due to not much on the agenda, but then, of course, we had our weather event, and we were able to scramble and reset the meeting as a special meeting, and we had quite a turnout tonight, and we're thankful for that. We had a lot of support from our state elected officials, and we will continue to work on it. We've worked through Phase 1, which is the initial response, Phase 2, which was, I believe, helping residents get to immediate shelter. We're now in kind of a Phase 3, which we heard many public comments worried about the more lengthy cost and problem of being displaced from your house more than a couple days or a week. Now we're talking about probably a month and probably more for some of those poor folks. So we did hear that. Please, I refer you to the tape on public safety to go to that. That's it for the public safety.
Okay. Moving on to land acquisition and farmland preservation.
Senior liaison.
Oh, did I miss? How do I always miss?
I'll be a quick report on that.
Senior liaison.
Our quarterly meeting is scheduled for next Monday at 5 p.m.
Okay. Now we'll go to land acquisition and farmland preservation.
Sure. We met on Tuesday, June 27th at 6 p.m., and we discussed the Rocky Hill website now has an icon there that you can click on and see the development plans, older diagrams, older materials delineating what's happening at the Streska Farm in terms of its development stage and what is going on there. And we made some edits to that, and so we thank staff for putting that on the website. A lot of interest surrounding the development of that, which is mostly in the land grading phase. That did go out to bid. The bid date had come and passed. I believe there were 6 contractors, and if I could turn to staff for an update on that. The contractor, so somebody won the bid, and
Won the bid, it's on consent agenda.
it's on the consent agenda. So we haven't had a meeting since then. So our next meeting is going to be on August 22nd at 6.
Thank you. Liaison to the state representative and the state senator.
No report other than the reports that we had this evening where State Representative Kerry Wood was very active in our flooding event at Cedar Hollow, and our state senator is engaged and working at his level regarding our flooding event at Cedar Hollow.
Thank you. Report from the school liaison.
No report tonight.
Thank you.
Madam, thank you.
Capital Improvement Committee
No meeting, no report.
and Economic Development Subcommittee.
Also, no meeting, no report.
Okay, we have 3 items on the consent agenda. I'll read them all.
Madam Mayor, I'll
Yes.
just make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Moving to old business A, discussion, possible action, proposed ordinance to establish an affordable housing committee.
So,
Yes.
In response to a former town council meeting regarding the Affordable Housing Committee presentation by Kim Ritchie, there was discussion regarding how do we come about getting membership from a diverse background, from affordable housing areas and what have you. After discussing how to word this with Kim Ritchie and also Dana McGee, if you know, in my memo, I refer to Section 2, membership appointments, terms of office, alternates. There was a highlighted sentence, and after discussion, I think this is probably as close and as far-reaching as we can go, while also giving guidance to the committee makeup, people appointing the committee members. In that wording, I can read that paragraph for you if that's appropriate. Section A, committee members shall be selected from a broad cross-section of town residents and local business representatives of diverse income levels, cultural and social backgrounds and abilities. And then this is the change, including those residing in affordable housing communities. Committee members will receive no remuneration for their work. That is the only change that is being proposed to the draft ordinance. And I don't know how much more we can go without, targeting. So at that
So
point,
do you need us to vote on that language?
I would just maybe a motion to forward on to public hearing.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, motion to forward on the public housing organizational plan?
Affordable housing.
Affordable housing?
Proposed ordinance to establish affordable housing committee ordinance.
The details surrounding the formation of an ordinance for affordable housing to the
August
20th meeting.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
It's not, I guess, just to make sure we're clear on the motion, we're setting a public hearing. We're not adding it to the agenda for the
Yes,
8:20 meeting.
add to public hearing.
Okay.
Creating a public
Hold a public hearing for August 21st.
August 21st, yes.
So about 6:30 meeting, and before the regular council meeting at 7, most likely?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to new business. A, discussion, possible action, proposed ordinance for the uniform valuation of personal property.
This particular topic, I have invited Town Assessor Stuart Topliff to give us a brief overview as to the purpose and the function of this particular proposal. Stuart? It's a long walk.
Oh, when you get old, it happens. It gets longer every time. Good evening. I'm Stuart Topliff, the assessor. I brought this to Ray a few months ago for consideration. Right now, for our personal property valuation, our assessor's office and the majority of the state uses a uniform schedule. There's nothing in our regulations or anything that says I have to do our personal property valuation in any particular way. What this ordinance will do, it tells our office or guides our office on how our depreciation schedules would be set. So it ensures the fair and equitability in the assessment of each business here in the town of Rocky Hill. And that's the driving force behind my proposal to Ray to get this ordinance proposed to you guys. The more uniform I am in valuation with the process, not necessarily the exact values, but the more uniform I am with the procedure, the more fair and equitable it is. And our office strives to be, popular belief, we try to be fair and equitable to everybody, regardless of who they are, or where they live, or anything like that. We just try to be fair and equitable, and this would help us in our office achieve that standard.
So again, I would recommend, if the town council thinks this is a great idea, which I would recommend, scheduling is for public hearing for the August 21st meeting at 6:30 for public hearing.
Okay.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to set a second public hearing at the August 21st meeting to hear the proposed ordinance for personal property evaluation, fairness, and equitability.
Second. Sorry.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure how the public hearings for the town council operate. In my mind, I was still thinking of planning and zoning commissions, where you have hearing after hearing after hearing. So usually you have a public hearing at 6:30.
Correct.
Regular meeting at 7.
Correct.
What happens when you have potentially 3 public hearings for that one night?
Well, you may either want to set them earlier or you might want to separate them. And I think it really is contingent upon the topic. I don't know that many people, with all due respect, are going to want to hear about some of this, but they may. So we have 2, right, Ray? So far? No, is it? Oh, there's 3.
Probably 3 if it goes accordingly.
We have public safety at 5:30.
Well, I think they would all need their own time, right? I mean,
Yeah, we'd have to give them chunks.
6:15, 6:30, however, but then
Yeah.
public safety might run long. Is there any reason why I know we've got a timetable for the first one, the affordable housing, because we're trying to get that in place for the new year.
And I would think Stuart would need, though, this information now.
Do we have the reval?
Or does it impact your reval, or can you wait until September?
Well, the ordinance is not effective until 30 days after adoption.
How does it impact you, I guess, is the question.
Well, the ordinance itself, I currently use the schedules that are proposed in the ordinance. As long as the effective date of the ordinance is prior to October 1st. So I know we did a tax relief ordinance 10 plus years ago, and they did it in the springtime, but they backdated it to the previous October 1st. To my dismay. So as long as the effective date of the ordinance is prior to October 1st, will it affect us on how we send out our declarations? No, because that's the schedule I use. It just makes it so somebody can't use their own.
Is it going to... I know you have timing questions, so go, because I'm...
No, I don't see a lot of opposition to
Yeah, my
this.
only question is
anybody coming in to talk about it.
Predicting the level of public interest here, I suspect we schedule for 6:55 and still have a time to get council started on time.
Okay.
6:30,
Okay.
6:30, 6:40, 6:50. I guess just to that, in terms of the anticipated impact, it sounds like if you're already using this, if this is just formalizing the existing process, then it wouldn't change the way the town does business.
It does not. It will not change how I do business as it is. It's just going to say, instead of giving me options of what I can do on my own, it's just going to say, Mr. Assessor, this is the way we want you to do it.
Okay, because my concern would be that if we're changing how we would go through our assessment process, maybe finance would need to review. We'd have to see the difference. Yeah. But if it's just formalizing what we're doing now, then I think that's... Yeah.
It will not change our process at all. It actually just solidifies what we're actually doing.
You're already doing. But this is very interesting because most people want choices to it, and you don't. It's like a Costco. It's like the Costco model.
You know, the less ambiguity there is in the law, the better off I am. You know, when things are left open to interpretation, it makes it harder to do what I do.
Yeah, no, I'm just surprised, that's why. But it works for you and works for the town. You're not changing anything big, so yeah. We're not changing anything, really.
I'm not proposing any change in the way we do business.
We're just formalizing, like Chris said. Okay, thank you.
So regarding Ray's question, could we do like 630, 640, 650? I'm kind of what?
I think, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Is Stuart going to stay there for B?
Yes.
Okay.
Did we vote on that second one?
Do we need to vote?
This was discussion, we haven't voted.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we need to vote to go to make it a public.
To
We
set,
just need
to
vote
set
on
those
it.
hearings, yeah, to schedule them.
We
Right?
vote on the motion.
But we can't schedule them ahead of time when we haven't discussed them all, right? Because
We're
isn't
just
this?
putting on the second one, because we made a motion.
Okay, all right,
The second
all right.
one, so.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're going to move to B. Okay, discussion and possible action, proposed ordinance to adopt the municipal option for property tax exemption for 100% disabled veterans.
What this local option does, it actually triples the exemption for those who are qualified under a certain income limit. It triples their, that are 100% disabled by the VA. It triples their veterans exemption.
Can you talk about the limits and some
There is
details?
a maximum income level,
Yeah.
correct?
There is, I believe it's $24,000, not counting their VA disability income. So that's outside of their, what we would include in their income. So it's $24,000, I believe, for those who are married and $18,000 for those that are single.
Okay.
And it's set by, that income limit is set by the state. The best part about this local option, which is almost every other option that is given to the municipalities, this one's 100% reimbursed by the state at the moment.
Yeah, so another question, how many
So there's no revenue loss.
individuals are covered by this? Estimation is fine, I guess.
A dozen or so at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Does this transfer to the spouse after death? Is that a benefit that
Yes.
carries through the beginning? Okay.
One of the few benefits that, or exemptions that stay with the spouse is the veteran's exemptions stay with the spouse if their veteran spouse passes away. Our other exemptions, like the disabled and a few others, do not, but the veteran's exemption stays with the spouse.
So just translating this into dollars, Stuart, then. So right now, it's 10,500 is the max, talking about tripling that to 31.5. So that's the reduction from the assessed value of their property?
Yes.
And so if we
It
apply...
would be 31.5, I believe, would be the
1.5.
maximum.
And so applying that to our mill rate, it saves people about $1,000, it sounds like. Right?
Correct.
Okay.
But that delta is reimbursed by the state.
Right.
That was good math, Bill O'Sullivan. Wow.
Yeah.
Woohoo. Okay. Any other discussion?
We need a motion.
Oh, any motions?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to set a public hearing at the August 21st meeting for discussion and possible action on the proposed ordinance to adopt the municipal option for property tax exemption for 100% disabled veterans.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I can't read your scribble for C.
That's Human Resources, HR Specialist.
That's right. Gotcha. Okay. So we wanted to discuss the Human Resources HR position and potentially rewording that.
Yeah, Dana McGee is here, Director of HR, Legal Compliance and Risk Management, to give us a briefing onto the purpose and the reason, just a quick introduction as to why
Okay. Very quickly, as you know, the work of my department is supported by myself, conducted by myself, and a very senior HR specialist. That person will be moving on to another career opportunity. And so I am here to apprise you of modifications to the existing position to a more junior human resources. I can never see you, and that annoys me. A more junior human resources generalist position. I know it's been a long evening, and so as not to belabor the point, I'm going to outline for you what those major changes are, and of course I'll respond to questions. The HR generalist position will focus on recruitment, selection, the hiring process, collective bargaining, labor relations, continue to support me in investigations, coordinating safety, training, and professional development, and implementing existing platforms to manage the search. Include is things like things that the more senior person would have done, like establishing new technologies to manage the search process, legal compliance work, extensive investigation, participation in work, legal research, risk management. The qualifications have also changed, whereas currently we had been looking for people with 5 or 6 years worth of experience. A human resource generalist can come in with about 3 years of experience and work experience in human resources and labor relations, and have less of a focus on legal compliance. So that will enable us to attract and hire a more junior person for less money into my office.
Thank you, Dana.
Sorry, go
ahead.
Yeah, I did have a question. So the existing posting is specific to that role. It's not the maximum, right? Like you couldn't, under the existing role, you couldn't hire a more junior person into that.
I'm asking to hire a more junior person.
Right, but and because of that, we have to address the existing job description to lessen it.
Correct.
If this person stays with a while, then we need to go ahead and update it to a more senior role again? Is that how that works?
That's what we would have to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
no new positions, no new FTEs, just modifying the current position.
Okay. Well, let's get the right person in there first, and then worry about it later, I guess.
Right.
Thanks.
What would be the education requirements for that position?
Associates or bachelor's degree in a related field, i.e. human resources, labor relations, or a related field.
Any other discussion? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the request to redefine the existing human resources position to human resources generalist position.
Okay.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, we are going to move on to the mayor's report. So, is that for me? Okay. So I just want to reiterate, as we heard on September 25th, there will be a suicide prevention program that is being coordinated with local organizations and the town of Rocky Hill. We had our first farmers market with lots of new vendors, which was really exciting to see, and those will run on Wednesdays for the remainder of July and then all of August. We also had our first summer concert series, which was another great event. We have one tomorrow night, which I believe is with Accidental Groove, which I believe is a local Rocky Hill couple. They were this incredible, and they still are, incredible cover band, husband and wife team, and their band. So that's really cool.
I think that was moved to Wednesday.
Okay, so
along
it's
with the
going to be
farmers
really
market.
cool on Wednesday with the farmers market. Our 12U softball team became Connecticut District 7 champs. Congratulations. And our 10U softball team really made some incredible strides this year as well. So a huge shout out to those girls for their commitment and their coaches. We are so, so proud of you. And in speaking of being proud of our young ladies in town, Rocky Hill Human Youth and Services created a new program called Girls Empowerment. So they are focused on building strong foundation and giving kids leadership skills and advocacy skills. And I had the pleasure of attending that first meeting. And it was really exciting to meet with the kids, and it's going to be really great. So really excited to see something like that happening in Rocky Hill. That's wonderful. There was this incredible Polish festival. I have some photos of the deputy mayor dancing. If you go on my Facebook page, he's got some moves there. It was really cool because I think if we look at our community senior center, and in particularly under the direction of Miss Marino at the senior center, we're seeing a lot of not only intergenerational program, but programming that is very mindful of the need to embrace diversity and inclusion. So a big shout out to her for bringing all these special lunches in. On September 30th, we will host our first annual Italian Fest. That's going to be in Elmridge Park. It will run from noon to 6. There is also information about that on the mayor's Facebook page if you're interested in becoming a vendor, or you just want info on what's going to be provided, what's going to be there, and so on and so forth. You can check that out. Over the course of the last 6 months, I don't know if you guys sort of watch, what's coming in and out for businesses, but we have had at least 6 new businesses that are coming in, particularly along the Silestine Highway, in anticipation of, more density and more things happening. We have a trampoline park coming in, which is pretty cool. We have a few new places that will offer delicious food. We have a gift shop coming in. There is a new nail salon that just went in. So, I know Town Manager Carpentino, in his role as Economic Development Director, really moved forward a bunch of initiatives to beautify that Silestine Highway, and I think a lot of that is paying off now. So good for Rocky Hill residents and good for our grand list. Rocky Hill rankings came out recently by an organization called Niche, which is something that folks, especially millennials, look at online when they're looking at where they may want to live and relocate, settle down, start a family, and just basically anyone who's looking to maybe transition into another town. So I would like to tell you that Rocky Hill was ranked number 8 out of the 73 best suburbs for young professionals in Connecticut. And when you break that data down smaller with respect to the Hartford area, we were ranked number 4 out of 41 for best suburbs for young professionals in the Hartford area, and then number 7 out of 58 for the best places to live in the Hartford area. So that's super exciting news. So hopefully more folks are going to come in. And again, that helps grow our grand list. Our community center, senior center, has opened a gift shop. The senior center has opened a gift shop, and it's called the Landing Gift Shop. It's run solely by volunteers, so it has very specific hours, but there are some really, really nice pieces in there, very unique. There's actually these incredible wood what do you call them, cutting boards and jewelry. I mean, just all kinds of stuff. So if you have an opportunity when you're next in the senior center, check out the time when that place is open, and it's going to be a great place to pick up a little something, especially as the holidays roll around. Just to touch base very, very briefly, we did have a special meeting this evening, a special public safety meeting to address the flooding issues as they have impacted our Cedar Hollow residents as well as our farmers. There was some very, very emotional public comment that we had here in front of us as a town council because the meeting was so long, getting through sort of the chronology of what happened and where we are. So we asked those people to stay so that we could hear from them today, because that's very, very important for us. And in terms of next steps, we heard from Chief Garahy that there were 26 firefighters out there that night. I was actually out there with them, and I can tell you that it looked like a war zone, nothing that anyone should ever have to experience. So just to give the public a general update as to what's been going on, I think we're in our minds, we're sort of trying to break things down into phases because it's easiest to process. That first phase being the initial emergency response, where the town, in addition to obviously getting out there with the fire department, our human services department, came in rapidly and was able to rehome folks. And then subsequent to that, sort of in that phase 2, was coordinating collaborations and so on with where will folks go once, they can no longer afford to stay at a hotel. And so fortunately, there was the Red Cross who came in, and we want to thank our state representative for her input and in coordinating with our fire chief and our human services department. And let's see. I would think that we're sort of in what I would call a phase 3 at this point. We know that there have been investigations in terms of the drainage issues to see what, if anything, can be done out there at this time. We are anticipating an engineering report from the developer, which we were told a couple days ago would be about 10 days to write up and then present. So we look forward to those results to see what all can be done to prevent something like this from happening again. Let's see what else. In terms of where residents are now, and in terms of where the farmers are now financially, next steps really will be contingent upon what types of programs are made available. There are a lot of various programs out there that the town could tap into to recoup some of its expenses, that residents could potentially tap into, and of course that farmers could potentially tap into. We, Ray and I have made numerous phone calls to just about every state agency out there, and we recognize that absent a declaration of emergency from the governor, which requires a certain threshold in terms of costs, right, around the state. It's very difficult to reach that threshold. We need that in order for the municipality, in order for the farmers to tap into some of these programs. So if that can happen, and if it does happen, we will certainly notify folks and help them sift through all the different potential relief that's out there and help them access that if they meet the criteria. We spoke with the lieutenant governor because, I was wondering, can we just issue a local state of emergency? Because that would seem so simple. But again, even we are required to reach a certain threshold, and that all comes down to dollars. Right? How much have we lost? What is the cost for cleanup? And so on. Ray and I were talking if there is opportunity to combine loss, and potentially there is, but assuming arguendo we even could do that, we can do nothing with that local state of emergency absent an actual state of Connecticut declaration. But the good news is the governor and lieutenant governor have been touring properties for a few days now. After that phone call, we received a email from the governor's office that he had added Rocky Hill to his list of visits. And, unfortunately, we've had more rain since then. And in particular, we just can't get onto the farms. So we're going to have to wait until we can get onto those properties. But we also heard from Representative Wood that it looks like that declaration may be coming. So, we'll keep our fingers crossed, but it's not just necessary for tapping into FEMA. It's necessary for tapping into a myriad of relief programs that are out there. And we were very fortunate to get a list of many from DEEP when we reached out to DEEP, and they hooked us up with the proper relief person who just happens to work, I think, in this little niche, right?
Yeah, and the
Is a really long title.
Garofalo or
Gagliardo, Mr. Gagliardo, yeah. So, we're going to keep pressing along because we recognize that folks need solutions now. And just to let everyone know that, both at the federal, state, and local level, we are working to find those solutions. And that sums up my report, and we will move over to the town manager's report.
And also, with that, some of this emergency management FEMA money, there's a program called AI, or IA, it's our individual assistance that could go towards individual homeowners. Again, it all depends on the cost and the aggregate amount of destruction. So we have to wait for what those requirements are. But we are being told to make sure that we document and they document very in detail the costs that they have incurred, the individual homeowners, and also we will be incurring, we have incurred as far as costs go. So we will be managing that process now. And since we're on the July 3rd flooding, I just need to take time to recognize the rapid response of our first responders, including our Human Services Department, Melissa here, during the July 3rd flooding. I need to give them a congratulations, a kudos for their rapid response and their care that they've shown for this particular emergency. Moving on, the DEEP grant. On July 6th, well, actually, back in May, we submitted a revision of this grant application to DEEP, and on July 6th, the grant review team submitted a series of questions regarding the revision in the application, and on June 11th, all those questions were answered and sent back to their review team, and now we just sit and wait, and then we'll follow up this week and next week, and hopefully it won't go any further than that. We get answers, we can start this process finally. I apologize, I have more than usual allergy issues tonight. Silas Deane Highway, you may have noticed this morning, I know I did, a bunch of people wait out on the Silas Deane Highway. That was our Parks and Rec Department cutting grass, weeding out dead shrubs and flowers. That the state and the town spent $2.7 million to plant and spruce up. We sent out letters to the property owners from along the Silas Deane Highway, from Elm Street down to Parsonage, indicating that town crews will be out to start maintaining a cleanup program for this 1 year to try to get things back to where they were last year when they were planted, or a couple of years ago when things were planted. There are a few property owners that have not been maintaining the frontage of their properties, some very severely not maintaining. So we're just asking that, to take pride in what we've done and what we're trying to do to bring up the value of, the buildings along and the businesses along the Silas Deane Highway with this landscaping. Yeah, Mr. Mayor. Deputy Mayor, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to tag on to that comment because I walked that stretch, and some of the property owners do a very nice job and have maintained the level of of
Many have.
landscaping, and others have just clearly have not done a thing since the day after it was installed.
Right.
And it's kind of shocking.
So-
And I did see your crew out there in this hot, unbearable sun, sprucing up. I mean, they probably have, another week of work?
Oh,
or two?
they have some time.
Yeah. They're not going to be done in one day, but
No.
it's sad that some of those property owners along the Silas Dean haven't, if they just maintained it, they'd be okay. Now you got to go in there and really work because they've let it just overgrow for some of them, and it's a shame.
Yeah, it is, and we praise the ones that have maintained it, and we're hoping that this will, what we're doing now, maybe be contagious, and maybe the property business owners come out and start, doing a little bit of maintenance while during the summer and spring months. So that's what we're hoping. Of course, we can't afford to do this every year. So, highway reimbursement program. The Deputy Fire Chief mentioned, I think, during public safety. I'm not sure, somebody did.
97 billed as of the previous
Right,
public
right,
safety, and 15,000 balance outstanding as of the last meeting. I don't know where it stands.
Yeah, I think it's the same.
Same.
However, $1.5 million have been appropriated again for 2024.
Yay.
Finally, 50 license plate reading cameras have been installed in town and located in 31 different locations throughout town. Those are the cameras that town council approved with ARPA money for security.
Ray, can you mention a little bit just about how those cameras are used in terms of just what they're recording? I mean,
They read the license plates from the limited knowledge I have of these. Let's say there's a crime in Hartford. So at that point, if they're coming out off of certain exits or certain roads, these cameras can scan the license plates, and that data is captured. And we can kind of look for the type of car that might have been in that crime and try to, it helps with reduction of crime.
in terms of how we anticipate them being used, it would be more in the investigation after something, because I know there's concern about automated red light tickets and things like that. So it's more, something happens, the police need more evidence to put the pieces together. If it's a car theft, if it's something else, it would be used in pursuit of an investigation at the appropriate time.
That's how it will be used. That's the intention of the use of those cameras, not for speeding or,
Not that you should speed.
Well,
yeah. So if I may add to answer Chris, because I responded to somebody from one of the residents in town about this concern, and I will just point out that residents who want to learn more about it, the Finance Committee meeting from December 2021, if they go to page 5, there are minutes there. Also, on page 20, the finance agenda for the same meeting, there's a lot of detail there. It's almost 15 pages. And also from the town council minutes of December 2021, they can go there as well. So this is all in December. So if you go to those finance meetings and the town council meetings, it's all in the minutes. Thank you, Joanne, for those really comprehensive minutes. So if you want to read more about that, definitely you can go there for the December 20th meeting, finance as well as town council. One last thing I will mention is some people have reached out to me about the location of those cameras, and I don't know what is the process of putting out such information. And I was going to bring this up at the public safety next month, and go over with the chief about whatever that process is. Maybe it should be public information where those cameras are. Maybe it's not. I don't know what the protocol is for such devices. So I will leave it up to you, Mr. Town Manager and Chief Klett, to figure that out. But people have reached out to me about the locations of those cameras. So I just wanted to put this on the record so that if people want information, they can go and look at the minutes from the finance and town council. And then I just wanted to bring this up so that we don't have to resolve this tonight, but I think I just wanted to put it out there for our next meeting, I guess.
Sure.
Thank you.
And my last memo, topic, ducks. I thought it was very important to report this incident from the Rocky Hill Fire Department on Saturday, July 1st, 2023 at approximately 4:30 p.m. The Rocky Hill Fire Department was dispatched to assist the Rocky Hill Animal Control with the rescue of a family of ducklings that had fallen through a storm grate adjacent to Ninja Japan on Cromwell Avenue. The first 9 were retrieved from the first grate. The mother duck alerted the crew that there were additional ducklings in a second nearby grate. The final 2 were rescued and reunited with their mother. I think this is a fantastic story. Needed to be said.
And if I could just add to that, the fire department on its social media page has a beautiful professional video with the rescue, and it's the sweetest, sweetest thing.
I'd like to also add, with part of the mayor's report, for some reason now, restaurateurs are finding Rocky Hill a little more attractive. We've met a few times. I've had a few phone calls from people, and also we met a couple of restaurateurs already looking for sites. They don't have very specific requirements, but they just feel they need to be in Rocky Hill for some reason. So it's a good thing.
I've heard good things
Not
about
that
the
we
ducks.
need more restaurants. We already have 54. So
Ray, sorry, just to the question about the declaration, some of those programs you mentioned, we heard a bunch of concerns during public comment around gaps in insurance, which as a municipality, I don't know that we have a lot of levers, but if those things like a declaration of an emergency happen, or even at the local level, is anything that would potentially, do we know that would change the position that those folks find each other in the medium term, where they, need to work with an insurance company? I mean, or is there any help that we can, offer from that perspective?
in relationship to the programs that we're talking about?
Yeah, like
or-
if a declaration of emergency
Right.
is declared, do we know that that changes the position from the folks we heard who have this kind of medium-term need where, they're out of housing maybe for a couple months, there's
Yeah,
a
that-
cost involved, do we know?
To me, that's more of an immediate concern as opposed to middle of the road. I think the process is going to take a bit of time, like any other government program. Maybe, for an emergency, they work a little quicker, but the individual assistance program, I think, sounds very appropriate for this type of emergency. I'm just concerned with FEMA's requirements being, they look at the cost and then, the number of units that have been, disabled and rendered uninhabitable. And, we have 5 or 7. That's, for us, it's very important, but I'm not sure on a FEMA lens, it's not concentrated enough, it's not big enough. So I'm concerned about that. They talked about crowdfunding. I was thinking, the Sustainable Rocky Hill, do we get points for helping out something like this? Can they crowdfund to help these people immediately? That could be a benefit for them and also for the town to get points for whatever they're looking to get points for. So I'm not sure that we need that. Will help in the immediate term, but in the medium, in the middle term, like you mentioned, it would help. I think, yes. I don't know if that answered your question.
And I just wanted to add on the insurance topic a couple points maybe to get the information out there is that the town of Rocky Hills did submit to FEMA and has been completely mapped, every property. So every property in the town, every address in the town of Rocky Hill is in a flood zone. It's just which zone are you in? Low risk, medium risk, high risk. There's, I think, 8 zones. So everybody is in there, and the program is not an insurance company thing. It's sold through insurance companies. It's the federal insurance flood plan. And because the water was on the surface, so rain coming in somebody's chimney and damaging their unit will be covered by their HO6 policy, their condominium unit owner's policy. If they have water coming in roof, chimney, gutters, windows, that's rain-driven, wind-driven rains. Flooding is surface water rushing towards a structure, no matter how it comes about, whether it's a melting snow pile, which has happened, or a pipe bursting up the street, or whatever it is. Once it's on the ground running free, that's a flood. It can only be covered by the National Flood Plan. It's my understanding that not all the unit owners have purchased HO6 policies. Definitely not all the unit owners have purchased it, maybe probably less than half. It's also my understanding that the association did not purchase flood insurance on their commercial policy. And I don't know if they explored it or if it was too expensive. But, you know, what's likely to happen is that the association will expend their $100,000 plus contingency funds, and then they can do a loss assessment back against the unit owners in a pro rata share. And if they have a condominium unit owner's policy, they can go to the loss assessment section of their policy and submit a claim. As was mentioned in the audience, some people have turned to their writers for jewelry, fine arts, because those are all risk, and say whatever happens to them, you drop them, break them, flood, water damage will pay for it. So they got payment for some valuable items that way. But in terms of a flood, you have to purchase a flood plan from the policy from the National Flood Program.
Okay.
I just have a follow-up question. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, Ray and/or Lisa, with respect to these various relief programs that are being looked at, state, federal, I mean, we have the immediate need, people need housing and, you know, the short-term crisis, but then you have other people talking more long-term. I'm looking at a $25,000, you know, rehab bill for my appliances in my basement or all. Are these resources that we're looking at, is that likely to give, or is there a reasonable possibility of that type of, you know, that volume of help being given to people to rebuild their homes?
I would have to check into that. I don't know the specifics for each program as far as what they will cover and how much. I mean, that's a question we need to figure out.
Yeah, I think we're waiting to see. The criteria, the thresholds haven't been met yet. So we're waiting to see if that happens, and then that would trigger programs opening up, and then that would allow us to look at the criteria.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that's the process.
So, Madam Mayor, like if I understand it correctly, like there has to be, even for a local declaration, I'm going back to that point, even for a local declaration of emergency, there has to be a threshold that has to be met, and we cannot do it unilaterally, I guess. That's the word. And I mean, even if we can do it, the benefits of that declaration, I'm not so sure what they are.
I don't know either, because I had, you know, our question has been right along, if we do this, you know, does the governor need to sign off on it? And is he going to sign off on Rocky Hills local declaration? Does that then make it a state declaration? And I don't think it works that way. I mean, we're really just kind of waiting for the state declaration. And honestly, we've really called every agency. You cannot fathom how many agencies there are out there, and they've all said the same thing to us. I mean, absent this declaration, and it's not the governor's fault. He's probably trying to figure out how does he reach the threshold, right?
Right.
And if you look at what's happened in other municipalities, certainly there's been a lot of damage, but I don't know what that magic number is for a state threshold, and I think that's why, you know, he's touring, and that's why every municipality is, you know, tracking every penny, and that's why it's up to folks to also track their losses and farmers and so forth.
Yeah, and we also heard from Representative Wood and Senator Lesser today, this evening, right, in the special meeting. They are working on their end, and so maybe, Ray, we need to work with them. So, we need to have parallel paths probably. Try to work with them and try to get the most out of, what they can provide as assistance, I guess, like they are co-chairs of the insurance committee as well. So maybe there is that angle. I don't know, but I think we should explore all those paths, I guess.
No, we will.
Do we know if there's any, it's just, silly, but philanthropic grants or anything that are available out there as well that can be looked into?
Yeah, Representative Wood mentioned foundations and nonprofits. Yeah, so that's what we need to look at also, and they need to look at also.
Yeah.
There may be. A lot of these nonprofits and foundations, they're very structured in what they fund and what the eligibilities are, for their funding, but there's got to be something out there that could be
There might be something. Yeah.
applicable for this situation.
It seems likely that perhaps we'll fall into whatever that gap is. I don't want to say likely, but if there's a chance that, maybe because there's so much damage as a general state. We see people taking boats up the river up Main Street in Bristol and all sorts of stuff floating down the river. So who knows? Maybe there'll be a general one that we could attach to. But if there is a gap, I did see there was a GoFundMe out there. Now, that's a space that can be a little bit of a gray space, so we'd want to do the appropriate level of vetting. But I don't know if it's qualified as a legitimate source. Maybe we just can also help publicize that. If that's something municipalities do, it seems like kind of another gray area. Maybe we just do it on our own socials, but that could be an area too. If we're talking about 5 to 7 units who are impacted, and maybe they're all out $25,000 or $50,000, it's a reasonable amount of money that perhaps we could chip away at. It's not rebuilding the entire site, right? So that potentially something to explore as well.
So there is a GoFundMe page that's been set up.
By one of the residents.
Yeah.
And we've checked it out.
Well, I'm not going to vet it, but
Right.
we went to their house, and we spoke to somebody's mom. I think it was the husband's mom,
Right.
who said her son used to be on the board, and that he had set it up. And I've actually shared it on my page. So it's there. What ultimately gets done with that money, obviously we have no control over it. We can't vet it, but there is something that exists.
Yeah, I said this in the public safety. We are happy to share it out and help in publicizing the page. The vetting piece is a more difficult one. But I think, it's like chipping away at it, like you're saying.
Chris, I wonder if this is something that, because for a municipality to set up a GoFundMe page, I think I'm not comfortable with that, but maybe, Central Connecticut Health District might be more, may have an agency, like maybe someone through CROG, if we follow that path, may have folks who can do that.
And even to that point, someone who might help them administer it. Let's say they get this response, and I think it was a target of $50,000. Let's say they get $100,000. How do they then distribute that? That's a challenge, but maybe they could work with another agency that helps them out in doing that tracking that you mentioned, because accounting is going to be a big part of this if there is some sort of funds to make people whole.
And doing a match even, potentially, there are so many different avenues, I think, to explore, and it's, again, having the resources to explore them. Anyone else? Okay, motion to adjourn.
Madam Mayor, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.